Thank you, Amy Rowe. Amy is one of our guest artists for the evening. Amy was playing Take 5, composed by Paul Desmond and first recorded by the Dave Brubeck Quartet. Good evening, and welcome to the kickoff event for the Barbara and Art Culver Center of the Arts 10th year anniversary, streaming from downtown Riverside, California. I'm the host for the evening, Sheila Bergman, Executive Director of UCR Arts. The Barbara and Art Culver Center of the Arts and the California Museum of Photography are a part of UCR Arts. You might remember us as UCR Arts Block. Tonight's 60-minute program mixes streaming performances, tributes, a tour of our new exhibition Culver at 10, highlights of the past 10 years, a trivia quiz with giveaways, and a toast to those visionaries that established the Culver. This is one of many other programs throughout the next 12 months to celebrate the Culver anniversary. And don't forget to save the dates, November the 13th through the 15th. UCR Arts is hosting the Mountain Film Festival, both live and virtual. The live festival will take place at the Palm Springs Cultural Center's Camelot Drive-In Movie Theater in partnership with them and UCR Palm Desert. Also, as part of tonight's event, we will have trivia questions throughout the program, so look out for those questions in the chat. The first person to answer correctly will win a prize from our gift shop. Can you believe it's been 10 years since the opening of the Barbara and Art Culver Center of the Arts? Since opening in October 2010, the Culver has presented and produced thousands of concerts of dance, music, theater, visual arts, and photography exhibitions, independent films, lectures, festivals, the list goes on and on. We have welcomed and co-presented hundreds of programs with our community partners like the Inlandia Institute, Riverside Arts Museum, and many more. I'd like to begin our celebration tonight by respectfully acknowledging and recognizing our responsibility to the original and current caretakers of this land, water, and air. The Cahuilla, Gabrielino, Tongva, Luiseño, and Serrano peoples, and all of their ancestors and descendants, past, present, and future. Today, Riverside is home to many Indigenous peoples from all around the world, including UCR faculty, students, and staff, and we are grateful to have the opportunity to live and work on these homelands. All capital projects like the Culver Center of the Arts takes years to complete. It also takes many people with a vision and commitment to develop the plans and garner support for the project. Let's begin our tributes with Chancellor Kim Wilcox.
Congratulations to the Culver Center on 10 great years. Now, if this were a wedding anniversary, it would be tin or aluminum, which kind of strikes me as some cheap husband came up with that idea just to make the anniversary gift cheap. But no, tin and aluminum represent flexibility and durability. So think of a durable building, one that from the 1800s that was a department store and is now a center for arts in the community. That's durability. And think of flexibility. It's a screening room for motion pictures. It's a dance theater. It's an art gallery. It's a museum. It's all those things at once. That's a pretty flexible and inspiring space. But of course, the space is just part of it. It's the activities inside the space and the people that are drawn to the space. And I want to call out one person who was drawn to the space before most of the rest of us, and that's Frances Culver. Thanks so much for what you have done for our community, for our university, and what you continue to do today to make sure the Culver Center is the spot that we all remain so proud of. Thank you, Frances, and congratulations, Culver Center.
Tony talked about doing something to commemorate and honor his parents. He found the Rouse building at a mayor's ball. Jonathan Green had invited us to sit at the table, and Pat O'Brien, the dean at the time of Chaz, was sitting with us, and he just was telling them this story about how he wanted to put all together his parents, honoring his parents, celebrating UCR, and his love of Riverside. So he thought this was, a really great place to be. And of course, Pat pointed to the building next to us and said, "What about this one?" And he looked at it and he said, "I never even thought about it." So that's what started it. And pretty soon he was getting started. Unfortunately, he only got it started. He passed in 2002. And as you can see, 18 years later, we're having the 10th anniversary. So that kind of shows you where he was when it all was happening. I know as it celebrates his mom and his dad, but in mine, he celebrates him.
When I was mayor, one of the initiatives that I now, looking back on, take pride in is we identified Riverside as the city of arts and innovation. An important kind of both kind of claim and destination for Riverside's future. The UCR and the Arts Block are a centerpiece in that identification, in that future. I take immense kind of pride in the Museum, Photographic Museum, and the Culver Center, and the number of events and shows and exhibits that have taken place.
We're being in the office at the Fountain Theater one day, and Deborah came walking over and she said, "Stephen, I want to show you this." And she brought out this piece of paper, and there was information about this project that she and Tony were going to be starting. It was going to be some kind of a art center in Riverside or something, and they were looking at a building, and the university was involved, and it was all, very exciting. And so we sat down and she talked it all through me, and I just saw her face, light up with excitement and pride. And it was this dream, this magical dream that she and Tony had as a way to honor their parents and to give back to Riverside, this amazing thing. And I was just so tickled for her and so proud. I went through it with her throughout the process of it and watching it being built. And then I was with her. We drove together that night to the opening, to the grand opening. The Fountain Theater provided flamenco dance entertainment that evening, because we also produce flamenco dance as well as theater. So it was a beautiful evening that night, I remember, and the building just looked glorious. It was brightly lit. I remember all the colors and the tables and the champagne and the music. And we were all in the courtyard there in the middle, and the show began and the presentation began. And I remember leaning over to Deborah in the middle of these festivities. And I said, Deb. And she said, "What?" And I said, "You made this happen. You helped make this happen." And she got this kind of look on her face. She got all excited, and they did. She and Tony and so many other people, of course.
I was kind of reflecting on my awareness of the Culver Center and of UCR's presence in downtown Riverside. I actually interned at the California Museum of Photography the first summer after I started college, the summer after my freshman year. And it was a really important experience for me. And so I was excited to kind of spend that time downtown and see, work with the incredible collections at CMP. And then we returned to Riverside in 2005. And I think that was when there was like the first whiffs that the Culver Center might become a thing. Mm-hmm. And I was the curator of education at the then Riverside Metropolitan Museum, now Museum of Riverside. And so we kind of were hearing whispers of this UCR Arts Block thing. And there was just so much energy and excitement around the idea of building this kind of bridge between the campus and the Riverside community through, art and film and dance. And so it's been wonderful to return to Riverside over the years and get to see what the Culver Center has become and the way that it's thriving and fulfilling that kind of goal of bringing faculty and students and folks in the community together. It's really great.
But I know that the ability to bring programs from the university, art shows, film shows, all sorts of ranges of things that, as you say, it's the only first-run theater in town, and that's a major accomplishment, I think.
So physically, it helped to cement the other institutions, the other arts institutions downtown, into kind of a cohesive group that could work together and bring more visibility to all of the arts in Riverside.
And I think they are ready for the future, and they are engaged, ready for new normals and changes that we are facing today. We feel, Elaine and I feel, that it ticks all the boxes as a dynamic, forward-looking, vibrant, and proud institution.
The Culver Center has supported activities, performances, conferences from almost every department and unit across Chaz. Indeed, I've even held several international conferences and a community arts workshop at the Culver Center. Every year, the Culver Center hosts programs from our students that include our UCR Music Ensemble. It also includes our MFA and graduating senior arts majors who get to show the work that they've done throughout their career at UCR, and our dance department, who has regular performances, including the Indigenous choreographies at Riverside Project. Since 2010, the Culver Center has hosted screenings of independent, foreign, and documentary films. And even in this virtual environment, they have continued to show these film screenings, and this is all under the brilliant directorship of Sheila Bergman and her staff.
What inspirational stories. Thank you to all our donors that have contributed to the Culver. For the next part of the program, Douglas McCulloh is going to take you on a tour of the new exhibition, Culver at 10, a show curated from our own collection. Doug is an accomplished artist from Southern California, and he's also senior curator at UCR Arts and the California Museum of Photography. His most recent exhibition is Facing Fire, Art, Wildfire, and the End of Nature in the West, and it's on view until January the 17th, 2021. Whatever you do, don't miss it. Either come down to the museum or see it on our virtual site. Let me now turn over the program to Doug. Thank you.
Greetings. This is the awkward moment when we start this. At this point, I'm used to giving walkthroughs with 50 people, 100 people going through an exhibition, but in this case, I'm staring at a camera. So it's kind of different. I thought I would just acknowledge that it's a little bit awkward and instead start by saying, let's be live, let's be honest, let's be a little impromptu. I'm Douglas McCulloh. I'm senior curator here at UCR Arts, one of the curatorial team. And we are going to walk through very quickly Culver at 10. It was curated by myself, Timothy LeBlanc, and Rita Souther, so it's kind of a curatorial team in this case. I have a little bit of business. The first is that you can post questions, and I love questions, into the chat the whole time. I will address them at the end. And also the trivia contest is ongoing. So the Culver Celebration is the 10-year anniversary, as you know. In this space, on October 9th, 2010, there was the gala opening of this wonderful arts center. This show, we decided we would just show work that was gathered, collected, gifted during that 10 years. They're part of the Sweeney collection that actually goes back to 1963 on the UCR campus. So it's a deep collection. These are new additions to it. This is not really a show about art, though. It's not about the objects. It's actually about community that makes this place happen. So there are 5 sections, there are 66 pieces of art, and I have like 13 minutes left now. So we're gonna have to go fast. Every one of these pieces has a story, but it'll be like one for each of these 5 sections. And we'll start over on this wall. So These 3 pieces here are by one of the most instantly recognizable artists of our recent time in the US, Andy Warhol, of course. And this piece right here in the middle is called Elizabeth II. It is from the largest set of silkscreens Andy Warhol ever did, 16 pieces, and they're called the Reigning Queens. All of them were selected, they were reigning at the time he did them, which is 1985, and on top of that, he didn't want a queen who had married into her position, but people who were born to the position. On top of that, he selected for the base images for his silk screening the official portraits of these queens. So this is the one that appeared on the stamps. These are the ones in the post offices. In Canada, they're still up in the post offices. And that obviously indicates Warhol's obsession with celebrity, with fame. He takes the most famous image of this famous person as the image to start with for his silkscreen process. These were gifted to us by the Andy Warhol Foundation. And it's part of a long relationship with the Warhol Foundation. That is, those types of relationships, that kind of community is what makes this place operate. So in addition to these and other silkscreen pieces, they gave us hundreds of photographs, black and white photographs, Polaroids, many Polaroids that Warhol shot himself, and we have shown those. You might have seen shows here. On top of it, the relationship also includes grant money and funding from the Warhol Foundation for the Arts, and we're hugely appreciative. So with that, we will travel through another section here. These are all wonderful pieces. You'll see another Warhol, Klaus Oldenburg, Robert Rauschenberg, and others, Corita Kent. And these were also given to us by a Los Angeles collector. That's Ernie and Elaine Nagamatsu. So we'll travel into what's known as the Sweeney Gallery in the back and talk about another Nagamatsu piece that Ernie and Elaine gave us. This is a book done in 1966 by Ed Ruscha, Los Angeles artist, very well known. And it's called Every Building on the Sunset Strip. So what he did, this is really an influential piece. I love this piece in the history of photography because it changed from fine art photography to a conceptual object and is in a series of them that Ruscha did. In this case, he got a friend to drive a pickup truck and he stood in the back early morning so there wouldn't be a lot of traffic, and they drove down Sunset Boulevard and he shot photographs of every building on the Sunset Strip. And the book, which is called a Z-fold, shows that entire section. One side of the street is at the top, the other side is upside down at the bottom. And they have street addresses, if you look at little numbers all the way along. Ruscha is still at work doing this. Every some number of years, variable, he'll reshoot the Sunset Strip. So there's an ongoing record. In fact, the Getty at this point has done a huge online project featuring this. This is a wonderful, wonderful artist book edition by the artist Cara Walker. She grew up in Stockton, ended up moving to Georgia. And she deals with issues of race in the US. Her trademark are these black silhouettes. In this case, the book kind of looks like a kid's book from the 1900s or something, except the content is slavery, issues of freedom, issues of oppression. And there are 5 of these laser-cut silhouettes that she's known for, often in huge installations, but in this case you hold them in your hand. And they deal over 19 pages with a slave being given freedom, but still being oppressed. and the realization that freedom isn't necessarily freedom in this country. And so we'll go around the corner to the person who gifted that Cara Walker piece, which is all of this work was given by the collector, really one of the great collectors of contemporary art in the country, Peter Norton. This is a portrait of Peter Norton. He's a software entrepreneur who wrote key software, antivirus software, wrote numerous books at the dawn of the IBM PC era, and made a fortune, and then turned his creativity toward collecting very edgy contemporary art. We are lucky in the sense that we are among a small set of institutions that he selected because we're a teaching institution, because we're not just a museum, but we're associated with a university. So he's given us more than 70 things, some of which are in this show, by major artists such as Cara Walker. We will go from here into the next gallery in the Sweeney. There's 2 spaces here, and talk about another piece of work and another set of people who support UCR Arts and the Culver Sweeney. I'll go through this gallery and just talk about one piece, since time is of the essence. First off, I wanted to say that people assume that because we're part of the University of California, that we get plush funding for these exhibitions, for all the performances, for the film program, and for all the things that happen in the Culver. And that, frankly, just isn't true. What we have is this wonderful, wonderful building. And then we have support from the university for salaries, and all of this is fantastic. But the exhibitions require support from the artists, from the donors, from people like Peter Norton, in order to make this all happen. This whole space are pieces given in the last 10 years, gifted to us by artists. And artists are the heart and soul of the place. So all of these, in some way, are a record of an exhibition here, and then a gift. So we support artists, artists support us. I'll talk about just this video piece. This is a short video by an artist born in Arizona, got an MFA at UCI eventually, Hong An Trong. And she is of Vietnamese origin. It's called Explosions in the Sky, and it uses archival footage from the French National Archives of explosions at the Battle of Dien Bien Phu in 1954. The Battle of Dien Bien Phu, no one remembers anymore, in this country especially, because it's sort of been overwritten by the American war in Vietnam. But it was the end of the French presence in Indochina. It was a long and brutal siege, and it was the end. It's a turning point in the history of that area. And so she takes these images that are part of that history and part of that turning point and enlivens them in a new way for a Vietnamese audience in America. And it is set to a piece of music that is a cover by a Vietnamese band of Simon and Garfunkel's Sound of Silence, which is an anti-war film. So it starts in English and then suddenly it shifts into Vietnamese, part of that same pivot. Just a wonderful piece. And we'll go around the corner to our 5th section. This is a wall of 17 photographs by Tony Culver, street photographs by Tony Culver. The name Culver, obviously, is going to be familiar. Tony and Frances Culver gave, in December of 2000, a $5 million gift that was the start of this Culver Center. Tony's parents, Barbara and Art Culver, Their names are on the front of this building in steel letters this high. Tony Culver worked as an assistant to the general manager of the Press Enterprise, the local paper. The Culvers had co-owned it since the 1930s. But his real passion was street photography. And street photography is this kind of amazing and very, very tricky and difficult practice where you take a crazy small machine out into the streets all over Southern California. They're all over. They're at the beach. They're downtown. They're right here out in front of on the mall here. And with that machine, you grab these little moments from community that are so alive and so vibrant. Tony made these prints himself. Francis is still on our board. So at this point, I will take questions that you've been putting in the chat this whole time.
All right. This is great. This is my favorite part. I'll just scroll through the chat really quickly and see if there are questions floating in here, because I've been watching everybody winning stuff. Here's one. Can you talk more about the Nagamatsus and their motivation for giving collections to the Culver? All right, I've had conversations, long conversations with Ernie Nagamatsu, so I can answer that question and speak more, I guess, about what motivates people. Ernie and Elaine Nagamatsu, really very, very interesting people. I think that the core of them is that they collect a lot of things. So they collect art. Ernie obviously has gotten to know people like Ed Ruscha, got really in tight with the Gemini GEL, which is a extremely well-known art print house in Los Angeles on Melrose, where it still is, that Rauschenberg and Jasper Johns and many people used and made prints. So he started collecting art essentially from that. But he also collects, I would say, experiences and travel and race cars and even people, I think, as friends. So we are privileged to have been collected essentially by Ernie as among his friends. The reason he says that he gifted this work to UCR Arts, to the Culver, is that we produce what he calls a touchstone experience, where someone comes through the door and manages to have an experience that is transformative and goes out the door differently. And part of that, in his opinion, is that it's not just a static museum, that we also produce films, a whole film program, performances of all types, dance, music, and so on. So it's the rounded quality of it that really attracted him. Those pieces that I walked by so briefly out there were given over 3 or 4 or 5 years, and the relationship remains. Let's see, here's a question. Are there great objects in the collection that have not been on view yet? Absolutely. I mean, this is a fraction of the collection. The collection goes back to 1963 on campus. There are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of objects, and so we don't have enough opportunity, like many people, to show them, but we probably should do more. It's actually even more challenging directly next door at our adjacent building, the California Museum of Photography, because that collection is 500,000 objects. And so we worked actively to grab things and try and show wonderful, wonderful things. Let's see here. Some of it's going into the Q&A and some of it's going into the chat. So it's good to see the work from the collection. Are there long-term plans to share more of the works with the public? Absolutely. We, the curatorial team, and Sheila Bergman and others have been working hard on generating not just in our internal curatorial team, which produced this exhibition, but also outside curators who give a fresh eye to some of the things that we have. So that's pretty great. Here's a question: what art is UCR Art seeking for the future? Wow, that is a big question, and we talk about it all the time. We actually have a collection policy. We're offered things, wonderfully, pretty constantly, and it really is, you have to have a guiding philosophy. What is the core of our collection? What are we after? And we really are California-based, but we obviously have a wide range. I think my own opinion is that being part of a university setting, we have a mandate to collect challenging art. And that is a wide range. So it can be art that addresses issues that are of this moment, or it can be art that is just purely wonderful art as art. And the point of all of that is that we really, really can do things that other museums aren't adventurous enough to do, or we can challenge ourselves in ways because we have this other point of view. There's a question here: what is the core financial need for UCR Arts in this economy? Wow, that is a tough question. Essentially, as I sort of mentioned, we have to raise money from grants, foundations, contributors, donors for the programming that happens here. The performances, the exhibitions, the film. We have a wonderful, wonderful building and a lot of support from the university, but California, the country, and the University of California are facing challenges. We all know that. So essentially, this is a moment we really need support. And we talk about that a lot as well. So I think that is the set of questions that I see immediately, and I will hand it back to Sheila.
Doug, what a fantastic show. Thank you. And congratulations to you and your team for pulling together this wonderful exhibition from our collections. Let's welcome back Amy Rowe, who will be playing Blues on the Closet by Oscar Pettiford. For over 10 years, the Barbara and Art Culver Center of the Arts has been the home for daring artists, audiences, and ideas. With both regionally and nationally recognized programming in music, dance, theater, film, and much more, the Culver showcases the work of emerging artists, modern masters, and UCR faculty and students. Before we present our highlights of these past 10 years, I want to thank our faculty for their willingness to collaborate and think boldly. We couldn't do all that we have without your partnership. Okay, let's look at some of the Culver's highlights.
Hi, I'm Ian Dickey, and I am a composition professor at UC Riverside. And since I started working at UCR in 2013, I've been deeply involved at UCR Arts, and I couldn't ask for better collaborators. I have started a concert series now in our 7th season. We've presented over 35 artists of specialists in contemporary music. And these artists have come from all over the state, all over the country, and even a few international locations. And while it's been wonderful to present free concerts to the Riverside community, which I think is an important aspect of what we do, our artists also, in many cases, will read student works the afternoon before their performance usually. And of course, this is an invaluable experience for my students and to hear the music that they've written. And of course, doing all of this in the backdrop of the beautiful atrium at UCR Arts has always been a real pleasure. In addition to that, I have been the director of the Outpost Foundry studio, which is upstairs in UCR Arts. And inside this studio, I've had, probably my most memorable experience working in it was to be able to create a piece called Cowboy Rounds, which is something that I got a Hellman grant to produce. It involved getting a piano up there, which is, again, a great resource for us, and some electronic equipment. And to be able to compose that piece in the sort of focused atmosphere of the studios upstairs was really, I think, essential in my success in writing it. And even more satisfying was the ability to work on it upstairs, but then present the premiere of the piece back in 2016 downstairs. And so this is an idea that I think we will keep pushing for and continuing on at UCR Arts, producing work and also presenting work, a space that can do both. And I think it does so very, very well. And I just want to wish everyone congratulations in 10 years and making this UCR Arts a very special place for us. Those of us on campus, we like spending time down there. The music department loves presenting events down there. And it is just a special place, and I really look forward to the years to come.
You know, being in this space where you have this upstairs where you can look downstairs onto a performance has, like, from the first time I came in here, I thought I have to do something that uses that vantage point, you know, to the fullest. The idea of creating theatrical performances that highlight the space that we're in, to me, is extremely exciting. You know, people talk about site-specific work. I think that it would fall into that genre. But, you know, looking at what this space, especially the atrium, the kind of feeling that it creates when you enter the space and you see the columns and you see the upstairs and you go, man, you know, theatrically for me, it's this additional character in a way that doesn't occur when you're in a black box theater space necessarily, or in a traditional theater.
What I love about the Culver Center for the Arts is, we're here in the Black Box studio, the Black Box theater space, and indeed, it's just a big room. But it's much more than a big room. We have access to lighting, we have access to play with soundscapes, we have access to put the chairs in this room however we would like, however the nature of the performance demands. So for me, bringing theater students here into the Culver, there's not only the Black Box theater upstairs, the atrium downstairs, there's pop-up spaces that you can use all over the museum. And it's a way to get students to come in and put into practice what they're learning theoretically or even what they're playing with in our theater spaces at the university. They're doing it in a real world space where the community comes in, and it really stretches us to think about what are we putting what we learn and study to what are we putting it in service for. So I just feel getting the students to come here to the Culver and to make work that matters to them is just incredibly important, not only for our students, but for our community, because the mission of the University of California is to serve the community.
The ongoing relationship between the art department and the UCR Arts Culver Center is a mutually beneficial one. It serves a crucial function for the art department, not only as an exhibition venue and a place to view exhibitions, but in our educational goals and needs, and as a resource for research by way of collections and archives, but also in terms of facilities and state-of-the-art facilities that are available to us at the Culver Center, such as the dance studios, the sound stage, and of course the galleries. So we are fortunate and grateful that UCR Arts exists, and happy birthday, UCR Arts.
UCR Arts is committed to being an incubator, to being a hub for innovation in the inland Southern California, and to be a space for us to engage with the campus, not just in artistic practices, but also in cultural production, in knowledge making, in the politics of every day. But to know that we have the space and the trust and the partnership with the staff and with the institution itself means that we can take more risks. It means we have more opportunities to build and expand our platform for sharing new work, both in creative activity and in scholarship.
The only way to make something clear is to clarify whatever needs to be cleared up.
This type of clarity only comes when something unclear is clarified through clarification.
We strive for this kind of clarity in all of our work, especially since we feel being clear is clearly the most important thing about our work. Please hold while I catch my breath.
This is a about the 5th incarnation of this organic arches series, and what it's about is creating this installation that goes through 2 different worlds. One is initially the organic world. It retracts into this organic state, and the idea is that when it's in movement, it pulls the audience in, and while they're being pulled in, before they know it, it inflates into an architectural structure that's engulfed you.
The illustrated syllabus based on Luke Cage was a germ of an idea that started when I was thinking about just how the narratives around black skin kind of like helped support the dehumanization of black people during slavery, and how I found it really interesting that Power Man Luke Cage, like his main focus is like the fact that he has impenetrable skin, and also the fact that whenever he's in his comic book, his skin is always exposed because it's shredding his shirt and it's like he's falling apart. He's basically like half nude most of the time to show how, you know, his black body. And so when the TV show came out, Stacey and I as Black Kirby decided, it's like, hey, it would be interesting to really like look at how Cheo Hodari Coker was dealing with this black subject in this Netflix show. And so that's what the germ of the idea was for the Luke Cage show here, Uncaged, here at the Culver Center.
Hi, Doug.
Hey.
How are you doing?
I'm great. This is fun.
It is fun, isn't it? As we near the end of our program, I want to ask everyone to take a moment to toast those that have helped to build the Barbara and Art Culver Center of the Arts. I'd like to start. I would like to start by toasting our amazing friend, Frances Culver, for her contributions and continued support into the Sweeney family. Thank you, Frances.
And I'll toast our sponsors for the evening, which are UCR Chaz, and you've heard that. That's the College of Humanities, Arts, and Social Sciences, and the City of Riverside, and Altura Credit Union, and Stella Artois, and longtime friends Connie and Roger Ransom.
Cheers. I would like to toast our UCR Arts Board of Advisors, whose sound advice has helped us through these very challenging times.
And to Donald and Debbie Brithany for their support of the Brithany Dance Studio that you heard a lot about. I'll clink the screen, I guess.
Sounds good. I would like to toast my predecessor, Jonathan Green, and his deputy director, Emily Papavero, and staff that spent over a decade working hard to launch this incredible endeavor and set it on a path of success and growth. Cheers.
And a toast to Ron Loveridge, who you saw earlier, former mayor, and really the reason Riverside is called the City of Arts and Innovation. So to Ron.
To Ron. And to Mayor Rusty Bailey, who has been a fervent supporter of the arts in Riverside. Rusty, thank you so much.
And we've got to acknowledge and toast the UCR Arts staff, which really just makes all this happen and has to be one of the best art staffs in the world, really.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you, everyone on my staff. And to anyone else that have partnered or supported us over this past decade, we thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers. So thank you for joining us this evening, and we look forward to welcoming everyone back soon. Oh, we can't wait. Let's end the program with a final performance by Amy Rowe, who will be playing Have You Met Miss Jones? It's composed by Richard Rogers and Lawrence Hart. Again, thank you for joining us this evening.